Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 300 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack for Business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Fransgrote from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motivate You, Inc.
Today's topic is how networking can lead to entrepreneurship. How can you turn your networking into real business growth and opportunities? That's what our guest is all about. Our guest today is Jeffrey DeSocio from Broad Reach Staffing. Jeffrey is a digital marketing and IT executive with over 25 years of experience from startups to Fortune 500s. He's the founder of Mass Professional Networking and now serves as a managing director at Broad Reach Executive Search and Staffing, helping hypergrowth companies connect with top talent. Jeffrey also has ventures in health, wellness, and internet services and remains active in the Northeastern University Alumni Association. An avid connector, he enjoys music, fitness, and traveling in New England with his wife, Heather. Jeffrey, or Jeff, welcome, sir. Do you have a favorite quote or saying?
It's pretty simple. Your network is your net worth. You've heard that a million times, but it really is. It's who you know, not what you know.
So you're focused inside the networking space because you realize that's where the real business growth is. What brought you into that realization? What was the epiphany?
The epiphany was back in the year 2007. I was working in corporate at Staples. I saw this advertisement from Northeastern University about a networking event. Keep in mind, I was in tech. I was like, networking, is that like wires and gadgets and stuff? I didn't realize it was professional networking. So I went to the event and I noticed a huge difference at the event versus the people I'm with in the corporate environment. Everybody was friendly, nice, and wanted to help each other. And I was like, wow, this is an epiphany. And I started going to events on a regular basis right after that. And meeting people that were open-minded, they had their own business, or sometimes they were looking for a job, but they were very open to information. And that's great dialogue. To this day, I have best friends from some of those events in 2007.
When entrepreneurs get together, especially people starting out, what do they get wrong about the networking piece? What jams them up?
Stop looking at a networking event as a transaction. You're not there to close deals. You're there to meet other professionals, build relationships. One thing great about our events, Mass Professional Networking, we have a 40 or 50% attendee rate where they come to multiple events. Say I go to an event, I see you, Bernie or Wayne. Now you're starting to know and trust me. You're starting to understand what I do. And then you're more able to help each other with referrals or even do business directly. I've seen a lot of times at an event, somebody comes in giving out business cards like we're playing poker or something. And they, I want to make sure I meet somebody to close a deal. And that's just the wrong approach. I've seen this over and over at events. Like if you're looking for a job, don't just say, hey, I'm looking for a job. You have to get to know people.
Interestingly enough, I was one of the old school to take business cards and make sure everyone got one. I was very good at it, but it was 30 years ago, so I'll feign ignorance. How do you gauge the time it takes to build a relationship? What's appropriate?
It depends. If it's direct business and, that other person has a need, it could be the second or third follow-up. Usually in sales, it takes 7 touches to close a deal. Sometimes it's a little less if there's an immediate need. So if it's a referral scenario, it could be upwards of 10 touches. It's always a timing thing in business. If somebody has a need, like I sell health and wellness products too. You may not need them today, but you may need them 6 months from now. But it's just one of those things where I think it's that follow-up and relationship building over time. Then you have a nice, network. Your network's your net worth. If you have a great network of resources and people, the revenue is going to come eventually. You have to look from that perspective.
So you've seen a large number of people rolling through. People have either a knack or they have an innate ability or they've honed their skill. What are the characteristics?
The characteristics is when somebody comes to a networking event and they go there with a plan to meet somebody that they don't know. Because sometimes when we go to an event, they'll just hang out with the people they know and talk to them throughout the whole event. But if somebody has a knack for business, they know they have to get out of their comfort zone and meet somebody different, because you never know who you're going to meet at an event. You always have to go with that mindset. You might meet the best person in the world that'll close 20 deals for you. You have to be an extrovert too in an event. Introverts are tough. It's tough to go into a room and you don't know anybody. But I think when you have that knack for business, you're going out of your comfort zone a little bit more. You go into a room, good things come down the road.
I like the idea of that knack for business. We've got to use that, Bernie.
If you have a knack for networking, there's professional networkers out there and there's not so professional networkers. I always encourage folks at my events to sit, talk in a V approach. That way it's inviting somebody who come in, but don't interrupt them, but just come in and join the conversation politely.
Being a bit of an extrovert, and I'm also loud. My wife assures me I'm loud. How did you go from going to a network event to starting a network event? What was that entrepreneurial shift?
So I live in the Boston area, but I live in the suburbs in Framingham. I started my events because I wanted to do some events close to home instead of going into Boston and fighting traffic. So I started Mass Professional Networking in 2013. It was at a pizza place. I did get a little bit of mentorship from a good friend of mine. Yeah, unfortunately, he's passed. His name is Dan Evans. I was going to his events down in Foxborough, Massachusetts, where Patriots Place. And so I was like, you know what? I want to start my own group. So over time, I'm going to be honest with you, since 2013, I've run at least one event a month, every single month. I gravitate towards Boston. That's where the people are, right? It's a young collegiate environment, very entrepreneurial. Boston's one of the top 5 startup cities in the United States. So I started doing my events in Boston, and then I expanded Boston and suburbs probably about 3 years ago. And now I'm actually expanding down in the Providence area, down in Rhode Island. So I'm doing 3 events a month. So I thought I saw a need out there. I don't know if you see my blog, The Social Connector. I always see myself as a connector. I brand my name a little bit, The Social Connector. I love to connect people. And that's one of the reasons why I started my own group. I wanted to do my own thing and run it my own way.
Are you a virtual group as well, or all belly to belly?
99% in person now. Of course, we were virtual during the pandemic. I've done multiple polls with the members of my group, and everybody wanted in person. It's not like shaking somebody's hand in person.
Do you find, though, that you're just, because in person means you have to be there, right? And that's the reality of it. I have a meeting today in Madrid, in Spain, and 2 hours later, I'm in India, and then another 2 hours later, I'm in Australia. It'd be a fantastic road trip. However, time, distance, and expense, and your own ability to keep up with that pace might hinder that flow. How do you get that reach then? Does it depend on the type of group that's coming together? Some are specific to an industry, some are specific to small businesses. And those aren't manufacturers that make smartphones, for example. How do you strategize that process? Is it a target market? Is it geography?
So we're in New England. Yeah, a few approaches you need to take. Our group, professional networking, is for all professionals, no matter your background, industry, everything. Wherever you came from, as long as you're professional, you're in our group and you want to help others. But you always have to think about the second level connection. I'm going to meet you, Bernie. You may have 10,000 LinkedIn connections. They're my second level. They may be all over the world, in Dubai, Tokyo, wherever. When we build relationships, you trust me, and trust me, you may refer me to somebody in Tokyo or Dubai, depending on what the service is. And what's interesting, during the pandemic, I did get that reach. Our events were virtual for 15 months. So I built some relationships with folks all over the world. And interesting, in Australia, of all places. I got quite a few LinkedIn connections in Australia. And it helped me in my staffing business because I had a couple of roles for a company that was based in Australia that I was working. So that reach really flexed its muscles a little bit in that case.
Are you one lawyer, one realtor, one accountant, or any profession? Which your model?
So it's all professionals. A typical event may have 4 financial advisors, 3 real estate people, 6 marketing. But if I was to say what domain I target the most, it's marketing. Because I'm also on the board of directors with American Marketing Association. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a great organization. And I have a marketing background. I have a marketing company. I've had AIMC Business Solutions.com, which is my logo back here, for almost 17 years now. I'm like that weird tech guy. I was a tech, but I'm also marketing. That's why I gravitate the most towards. But again, our group has to be, you have to come from all types of backgrounds. It makes it more interesting, because if you go to an event where all marketers, if you look for a job, the marketers, they're not going to hire you. It's going to be the chief operating officer, could be the CEO. You want to meet folks in other business domains at an event, because you're more liable to close a transaction there.
We seem to be morphing a little bit because of the pandemic. I was raised belly to belly. The small town, the hardware, you went 2 doors down and you shopped the hardware store. And now we have the social media. We've got Facebook, we've got LinkedIn. We won't even mention that other guy. But do you see this a change? Do you see this as a value add? Where are you on social media?
Well, social media, where I look at it, I'm on it all the time. As a recruiter, I'm on LinkedIn almost all day. You have Facebook, Instagram, and all that. I look at social media as a place to basically define your brand, your background. What do you offer? When I go to an event and I meet you, I'm Jeff. How are you doing? I don't start going on a 10-minute pitch of what I do. That's what your social platform should be. It should be your brand. Because you know what? If we meet each other at an event, I'm going to pull my phone out, Wayne, and say, "Oh, Wayne Pratt. Oh, wow, he does X, Y, Z." I'm going to see everything you do right there. So I look at social media as a place to define your brand, promote your brand. It should almost, I don't know if it should be a replacement for your pitch at an event, because you don't want to be pitching people at networking events. That's the worst thing to do.
So if you're working for a company, from the networking experiences I've seen, there are life insurance folks or realtors. They usually fall under the banner of a major firm. And there's a corporate image that goes with it. It's like going to a fast food retail outlet that's franchised. There is a look, there's a feel, there's a flavor. Does that get lost, or does that person have to emulate? Obviously, they're representing somebody. But does something get lost in the translation of getting to know the person? Or is that, or should they have already been harmonized to that nature of that business? In other words, if I'm doing life or business insurance, it should be reflecting my values, but do you lose anything in that translation when you're networking? Because you got to get to know me, right? And I may have a wife, 3 kids, 2 dogs, a rooster, whatever, right? How does that shape? Does that cause conflict?
Oh, no, that's okay. No, that's a great point. When you're a salesperson, people buy you. They don't buy the product or service, right? Because they want to get to know you. They want to trust you, even though the product is, I sell vitamins, right? So you can go to a local vitamin shop or you can go to somebody else, right? But I'm going to buy from Jeff because I know Jeff and I trust him. So you have to look from that perspective. When you go to an event, people are buying you, even if you work for somebody. Now, life insurance, right? You could be in sales. So your brand might be your company, right? Because you're selling the brand of the company. But let's say you're in tech or some operational role, you have to be careful there. My initial thought is this person's looking for a job. Why are they in an event? And that's the interesting thing is sometimes I'll meet an IT person or somebody in HR or whatever at an event, and they're working for this big life insurance company. And I always ask, what brings you here? That's another networking question. Ask, what do you do? It's what brought you here? Now, a lot of times they'll say, I'm looking for a job. In that case, they work at a big company. They're looking for a job, and it's good because now they're getting to know people, they're building their network. So I always say, think you're branding yourself. It's your brand, and people are getting to know you, not necessarily the company you work for.
So I'm a podcaster and I need my roof done. And Jeffrey recommends a roofer to me. And let's say it goes very badly and hard feelings and all that. What do you do to heal that, if at all? How do you be the referrer, the brand that I gave him the lead, so I will make sure it's a good lead? What do you do?
I would never recommend a bad roofer. Number one.
A bad dentist is okay, but not a bad roofer.
Yeah, I'm very careful on my referrals too. I find out how much I know the roofer. I take review. I know sometimes reviews can be negative on Google or Facebook. You want to look at their BBB rating and make sure they're a good referral. You got to do your homework first. If it did go badly, I feel responsible that I referred the roofer to you. So I would take I would take it on myself to talk to the roofer and say, listen, you didn't do a good job for Wayne. There's a hole in his roof. It rained and there's a bucket of water in the middle of his living room. What's up? You can't be like this as a referral person and say, good luck. It's more, I personally feel responsible. And I think anyone that refers a company has to feel a little bit of responsibility, right? Because you're trusting me. Right? You're trusting that I gave you a good roofer.
This almost begs the next question, because sometimes there's affiliate marketing that comes into play. I can see that, saying, an automobile sales dealership will give you a spot you $100. Maybe it may mean more now, depending on the circumstance. How do you feel about that? What's your position on? I use certain software that says, hey, you want to be an affiliate marketer? There's certain rules. You have to declare that you're receiving money, et cetera. You can't make bogus claims. How does that fit into a networking group? Like in one networking group, there's no money exchange. It's more, I know this person, I trust the person, and I think it's a good fit. And in other instances, it's more commerce.
Affiliate marketing is a blooming business these days. And a lot of companies are using that kind of sales approach versus high-end traditional sales executives and all. It's a refer. Like, I'm going to refer this gadget, right? And you buy this gadget for $100, I get $10. So I trust what Jeff is trying to recommend to me. You have to look at the problem versus the product as an affiliate marketer. Does this product solve the issue? This person wants to lose weight. Will this work for them? Oh, wait, they have diabetes, they have XYZ, they're on this type of med. So you have to get a little careful there in the health and wellness world. I think it's more like, again, it's networking and getting to know the person, and they have a need. Oh, wow, I'm an affiliate of Isotonics or whatever. We got this great product that helps with your gut health. I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to recommend to you that take this product XYZ. And then they sell it for around $80. I get $10. It's interesting to bring that topic up. Our events in particular, I always say a quarter of the people at the events now are affiliate marketers. There's a lot of that going on now. And it's good because that's the future, I think, in the world of sales.
Jeff, one thing that interests me, in my 30 years in business, there have been times when the sales were a little thin and I had to pay the visa by Friday. How do you build a long-term networking relationship that may take a year to develop when you need to pay your visa Friday?
Yeah, and I see what you're saying. Like, you got bills to pay, right? And I hate to say this, but it's a numbers game. I'm in the recruiting business. We were just talking about that. We're hitting a little bit of a dip right now with clients, hiring clients. As you probably know, the economy is a little funky. Usually I try to do around 5 to 10 reach outs a day. I did 20 yesterday. You just have to up your numbers. If you're in that desperation mode, you got 168 hours in a week. You sleep for 40, you work for 40, you with your family for 30. You just have to use that time wisely and productive and build and just batten down the hatches. And another concept you got to do is qualify who you're contacting. Make sure that they have that need, because you're not going to go to a 100-pound, 5'10" man and say, hey, you need to lose weight. Wrong. They're like, I need to gain weight. If that makes sense, that's the numbers game. You just have to bump it up a little bit.
You ever make chats with people and say you connect with somebody, and whether it's a formal networking group or you happen to be at a golf game or a sporting event or some other public event, and you hit it off, and it just good energy flow. There's some people you're going to talk to, yeah, not going to work. But other people, it's going well. When you make that connection and someone says, oh, I'm interested, the follow-up cycle, how do you gauge that? It's not seeing painful. In other words, man, you can go away.
Yeah. So I remember a rule of thumb, this is what I teach in networking, is always follow up or send a follow-up within 24 hours of meeting somebody, because it's hot. And if it's a good lead, make an appointment, pull out your phones, pull out your calendar, say, hey, you know what? It's Thursday. Let's meet Monday at Starbucks in downtown Crossing in Boston, and we can chat more. Because at an event, you don't want to get too deep into conversation about solving each other's issues. You want to keep your time limited per person you've talked to. You hear that over and over. You have to have the next step in place within 72 hours. A 24-hour follow-up message within 72 hours, have a meeting with that person. And then you're kicking off that touches, per se. And going back to networking as an entrepreneur, you need to pay the bills. You have to be a little bit aggressive, but don't be a mosquito. If somebody doesn't respond to me, I'm very quick. I have a quick trigger. If you don't respond to me in 2 or 3 tries, you don't hear from me for a month. And I just move on. I don't call somebody up 5 times a day. Then they're the ones that you're like, I'm not going to refer to this person.
You just hit a really good point. On one hand, you want to be there when they're top of mind. And yet on the other hand, you don't want to be in their face and be that person everyone hates at a cocktail party. How do you gauge that? How do you feel the room?
And I've been doing this for many years. The thing is, when I walk into a room, if I see a person that loves to hear themselves talk,
Ooh,
I know it's tough, right? That person I may not spend the time with. I like to go with folks that if I see a conversation where it's very interactive, like there's people next to me, those are folks I want to talk to because they're interested in learning more about me. And I'm also very interested in learning about them. So it's a fluid conversation. I always look at how the conversation is going. I've seen a lot. The person is talking, the other person's looking at their phone, they're rolling their eyes. They're like, I don't know if you want to really talk to this person. They might be the best client or contact, but at an event, the whole idea is human interaction. You got to have a fluid, almost 50-50 conversation. And that's the way to help trust them and refer them. I have a side story. I was at an event once, and this guy went off about his skiing business. He repaired skis. 10, 15 minutes. He kept going and going. I don't ski. I hate snow sports. Why did you just spend 10 minutes talking about your business? First question should be, do you ski, Jeff? No. Okay, let's talk about the Red Sox. Else. And that's what you have to do. You should start instead of your pitch, ask a question, qualify the person first. And then, you can talk about it, but I want to interact with a question versus a statement. That way it has the conversation going on flow.
Jeff, you like to base your relationships on person to person, which I think is fantastic. When you can only be at one place at one time, how do you scale?
Yeah, and I have that problem a lot. It's really ramping up in the Boston area. There's a lot of events going on. This is where you have to make a decision. Which place should I go tonight? And this is just, I don't say the selfish side of me a little bit. I'm going to go where my clients are going to be. So I'm not going to go to this event to talk to Sally Joe and have a beer just to say, hey, Sally Joe, I want to go somewhere where there's potential for business or referrals. And I always have to kick my events accordingly. Some people send a designee to another event. I've done that too, where, hey, can you go to this event for me? That's all you can do, especially around here. There's a lot going on in Boston, especially in the spring and the fall with all the schools around here. Pick the event where you have the best qualified leads, because those are the people you want to interact with.
Would the whole process then be best defined as a sales funnel and put in with your brand strategy, your overall strategy? Would that be a fair thing to say? When you say funnel, you think of websites and the CRM and the trickle minders. And by the way, I have some people, I book an appointment with them. And the mosquito that I get out of that thing is I get a reminder the day before that, text reminder the day before that, an hour before that. And I have about 15 touch points where I'm going, looking at they must have been rejected a lot or people didn't show up. But it's a funnel process, right? Should people view this as part of the funneling strategy?
Offline is networking. It's people interaction, human interaction, one-to-one marketing. And then online is all the different online tools, social media, email marketing, websites, contact lists, and all that. So I always say you got to do both. when you're a business, you want to diversify your lead generation as much as possible. And of course, go with what works. I'm a little biased here, but I say professional networking is number one, because you know what? People, going back to people buy you, not the product or service. They're not going to get to know you from an email message as much.
I love what you're offering, and I think you're bang on. We are in a city, Boulder City, in another country, quite a long way from pizza at your place. How do our listeners get help or help you? I'm a little unclear what we can do transactionally. How can we make this be more efficient? How can we make this work?
So I'll give you my day job. There are companies in Ottawa, they hire people. We work internationally, so it doesn't matter. And then I'm in the website business with AIMC Business Solutions. We do websites, companies in Ottawa that need websites. And I sell health and wellness products in Canada. We have a Canadian site. So you get to know what I do. And you're like, hey, Lisa, I know a guy, Jeff, he's down in Boston, does websites, or he's a recruiter. He can help you find a couple of Salesforce engineers. The world is big, but the world is small.
I like that.
So you can always help. And Ottawa is only a 6-hour drive, right? So is it 6? Maybe a little bit more than that.
What's that? Depends if you have a lead foot.
Yeah. I know Montreal is 5. I'm actually going there this summer, but it's about a 5-hour drive. I don't know how far you are from Montreal, but
2 hours.
2 hours. So it's 7 hours. There's been cases like, hey, let's go meet in Burlington, Vermont. At least we're drivable where we are. But I see your point though, Wayne. It depends on what the person offers. If I was a car mechanic or a roofer, of course, you're not going to recommend a roofer in Boston when you live in Ottawa.
E-cards changing anything?
E-cards?
Yeah.
You're talking about electronic business cards?
Yeah.
They already have changed. A lot of people don't bring cards anymore. I remember my early part of my networking event, I have shoe boxes of cards. Now I go to an event, I really don't have many cards. With the pandemic, I've encouraged attendees to use the LinkedIn app on their phone, scan the QR code on the LinkedIn app. Great thing about that is you're going to get their name and email address. Because if you're a first level connection on LinkedIn, you have some of their contact information already to do a follow-up. And you don't have a card. Cool. How many times do you give your card out and that person puts his card in the shoebox like how you do? All right. So when it's electronic, LinkedIn or CRM, I use HubSpot. Everyone that signs up for my events, it goes right into my CRM automatically. You want to use that online e-card approach. It's so much easier.
If you're going to do a quick sum check and you have a couple tips to somebody, how do you network?
You have to go with a mindset that I'm coming in there. Who am I going to help today? You may go in there and say, I want to meet 10 people today. You do want to have some sort of a KPI, like how many people do I want to meet, especially if you're in sales. It's a numbers game. You want to get leads. I'm going to meet 10 people that are leads. The mindset is, who am I going to help? Is be that positive energy in the room. When you walk into a room, that's what I love about networking events. Most 96% of folks are very positive. So you want to help people, and you want to be that positive energy when you walk in a room and be that magnet, right? If you have that mindset, you're going to be a very successful networker.
How do we get a hold of you?
You can catch me on LinkedIn, Jeffrey DeSocio. I also have, I think you got my stuff here. DeSocialConnector.com is my blog. And that kind of shows a lot of stuff I do. And then my email is jeff@AIMCBusinessSolutions.com or jeff@broadreach.io. It's probably the best.
I want to say thank you to Jeffrey DeSocio, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. You got a question on networking? You're looking for a roofer in Boston, or you just need some marketing advice? Reach out to Jeffrey.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KREATIVISIGHT.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayne@motive8u.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter u.ca, or his website, motive8u.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people. Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert. Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster, where Bernie is a co-host. Jovan Strika from At Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space. Then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner. And Wayne Pratt from Motivate You Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer, please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.